Okay, so yesterday in class we talked about solving equation or quadratic equations by factoring. Today we're going to solve them by using the quadratic formula. Your objective is that you will be able to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. So to start off, our equations are going to be in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. If they're not, our first step is to get them to set equal to 0. Then we're going to use these values, so a, b, and c. Make sure you include the signs into this equation here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You're going to plug your values into this equation, simplify using the order of operations. This is one of the ones that we focused on that first day of school, and you will get 2 answers. So to start off, we have x squared plus 9x minus 52 equals 0. In this case, we have a equals 1, b equals 9, and c equals negative 52. We're going to use that to plug it into this equation. So x equals negative b. So it's always just the opposite sign of b. So negative 9 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So 9 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. You're going to simplify inside the square root first and kind of simplify the top and bottoms of this separately. So if we're just looking at the top, we have negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 plus 4 times 52 is 208. So we would have negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 289. And we take the square root of that, which is 17. Of course, our bottom equals 2. It's 2 times 1. So we have negative. So our 2 answers are going to be, so now the top is negative 9 plus 17. So our 2 answers are going to come from this now, because we're going to have x equals negative 9 plus 17 divided by 2, and x equals negative 9 minus 17 divided by 2. So we'll do negative 9 plus 17. It gives us 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And negative 9 minus 17 gives us negative 26 divided by 2. So x is negative 13. And again, you're going to write your final answer in the brackets. So for negative 13, again, it doesn't matter the order. But that is the quadratic formula. So we're going to look at a few more examples. So it is a lot of work, but it always, so like factoring, not all your equations will be factorable. Quadratic formula will always work. So we have a equals 4, b equals negative 11, and c equals 7. We're going to plug these in. So x equals negative b, so the opposite sign of b, so in this case it's positive 11, plus or minus the square root of b squared, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. So again, I'm going to look at the top and bottom separately. So the bottom, 2 times 4 is just 8. And the top, we have 11 plus or minus the square root, or negative 11 squared. Again, this is just always going to be positive. So it's going to be positive 121 minus 4 times 4 times 7, which is 112. So we do inside the square root first. So 121 minus 112 gives us 9. The square root of 9, that's a 9, not an a. The square root of 9 is a perfect square, so we get 11 plus or minus 3 as the top of this. They're not always going to be perfect squares, so I am going to have you find like the square root to a decimal and round to like 2 decimal places. But for right now, we have 11 plus 3 divided by 8, and 11 minus 3 divided by 8. So you have to make sure to include that plus or minus. So we have 11 plus 3 is 14 over 8, which is 1.75. And we have 8 divided by 8, which is 1. So our final answer is 1.75 and 1. We're going to look at one more example. In this case, we have to be careful because it's not set equal to 0. So we have to subtract 7 from both sides to make it equal 0. So now we have negative 2x squared minus 12x plus 13 equals 0. Now we can pick out our values of a, b, and c. So you have to make sure it's set equal to 0 before you find a, b, and c. A is negative 2, b is negative 12, and c is 13. Now we can plug into our equation. X equals negative b, so the opposite sign of b, so positive 12, plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared, b squared, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. So now if we solve these separately, the bottom, of course, is negative 4. The top I'll do over here. We have 12 plus or minus. Again, the square root of anything, or the square of anything is positive, so negative 12 squared is positive 144. Plus, because we have a negative times a negative, 4 times 2 times 13 gives us 104. Oh, we're not doing the over. So we're going to add in the square root first. 104 plus 144 gives us 248. And the square root of 248 is a decimal. So we have 12 plus or minus. I'm going to say round to 2 decimal points, so I'm going to say 15.75. So now this is your top of your equation. So now we're going to find our two x values. So we have x equals 12 plus 15.75 divided by negative 4, and 15 or 12 minus 15.75 divided by negative 4. So if we do 12 plus 15.75, we get 27.75 divided by negative 4 gives us negative 6.94. And over here, if we do 12 minus 15.75, we get negative 3.75 divided by negative 4 gives us positive 9.94. So, of course, you're allowed to use a calculator for these because you get weird decimals. So, come to class with any questions you have about this, and we will practice more.